Welcome to the GHQ Crew podcast, where golf meets laughs, legends, and a little bit of chaos. Before we dive into our swinging stories and banter, a quick heads up. The views expressed here are entirely our own and do not necessarily reflect those of the fine club companies we represent. So grab your favorite beverage, kick back, and let's get ready to tee off on a wild ride through the world of golf and beyond. Let's go. Welcome to the GHQ Crew podcast, where there's no shame in getting help with your game. I think that was the most fitting one for our guest today.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was a good one. We have a special guest today, and everybody watching will know this guest because if you come in the shop, you pretty much will see him every single day. And this gentleman has been in the industry, not only the industry, but the game of golf, basically his whole life. And we're so excited. We've been wanting to get him on here for a long time to sit down and finally get to have a conversation with him. And we have none other than our very own David on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm feeling pretty good, actually.
Feeling pretty good. You get to sit in the comfy chair.
I'm telling you, this we need to move this up front. This would make my life a lot easier.
Gets to sit in the comfy chair for a few hours and enjoy it.
That's right.
We're so glad you're on here, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've been in golf a long time.
Yes, I have.
You've seen a lot of golf. You've played a lot of golf.
Yes.
But you've recently retired from golf.
Unfortunately, I had to.
Yes, sir.
And you got to see the unfortunate end of that decision. So, yeah.
We got to play our very first round together, but what was your last round?
Correct.
Together out of Odessa Country Club. And if you don't know, David is a phenomenal golfer.
Was.
Yeah, you're saying that, bro, but you could still go out and beat pretty much everybody in the shop.
That's assuming I could finish the round. But yes.
David is a phenomenal 9-hole golfer. He could get through 9 holes and he'd probably pretty much kick everybody's butt.
100%.
So we start every one of these out and we ask this basic question. How did you get started in golf? Was it your parents? How old were you? And kind of take us through that journey of golf in your life.
Yeah. So my father got me into it when I was 10 or 11. I'm not 100% sure. He was playing golf with some of his buddies, and he thought I was age appropriate enough to get out there and play, and just bought me a cheap old set of clubs to play with, and I was hooked, line, and sinker, and have loved it ever since. So my father, when I was about 10 or 11.
Nice.
Yeah.
So where were you at the time?
I lived all over the country, but I got started in Lubbock, Texas, a little par 3 course called Treasure Island, which is now a Walmart Supercenter, I believe, been paved over. But at the time, it was a great facility for especially a 10 or 11-year-old that wants to learn how to play.
And your high school golf was played?
That was in East Texas at a little small town called Maybank, Texas. At the time, it was 3A, which at the time, the biggest school was 5A. So it was in the middle range. But yeah, that's where I played my high school golf. At the end, I played my high school golf in Oregon as a freshman, sophomore. And I played some golf in Maine, I believe, as a junior high. So again, all over the country.
Maine. That's the one I was trying to think of.
So you literally went from the very far West Coast to as far as you can go east.
Yeah, ironically, I lived just outside of Portland, Maine, and Portland, Oregon. So I was East Coast, West Coast within
Both Portlands.
Both Portlands. Yep.
What did your dad do?
So he was at Texas Instruments, and he was kind of a headhunter / contract labor. And so he would work 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, and then we're up and moving again. And for me, I absolutely hated it because I went to 13 different schools in my 12 years of school. I never knew if I was going to stick around for the whole year. So but I got to see some fantastic golf courses. That is the one positive thing about doing all that. But I kind of hated moving around a little bit.
So golf was kind of your escape.
It was 100%. 100%. Mom and dad would drop me off for the golf course, give me $5 for lunch, which you could do back then. It was 35, 40 years ago. And I was good to go. They'd pick me up at night, and I'd play 36, 45, 54 holes, whatever it was, and practice and play, and absolutely loved it. Now, during the wintertime, when I didn't get to play, Terrible. Yeah. What, can you play hockey? No, sir, I can't. What do you do? I do nothing. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you finished your high school career though in East Texas.
That's correct.
At Maybank.
Yes. Senior Maybank High School. We were actually the state champions in 3A. I got a second individual medalist. But some of my best times golf wise were definitely in those years. Absolutely.
And then a lot of people will be excited to hear this. You went to play at a pretty prestigious school here in Texas. Played college golf at
Odessa College.
Yep.
And then Texas Tech.
Yep.
But I'd never actually thought about playing at Odessa College. I had a verbal commitment to play at Tech out of high school, and I went on a recruiting trip there to basically sign the papers and verbal contract, which to me meant
That's where you're
I'm going, right? Got there, and coach says, I think I found somebody else I like a little bit better than you. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And I had another recruiting trip to Odessa College with Kyle Howard, who was the coach at the time. And he doesn't know this, so this might be news to him. I was not planning on going to Odessa College. Had no intention. I was going to go to Tech, 4-year school, big school. I'm a good player. I can do this. No, didn't want me. So I went to Odessa College. Turned out probably to be the best move from a golf standpoint that I ever had.
Yeah.
So kind of thank the Tech coach for not going through his verbal commitment. So
You played Odessa 2 years
2 years.
and then moved up to Tech.
Yeah, and then I wanted to get a little dig at the Tech coach after that. So because I was I ended up being a college honorable mention All-American at Odessa College. He was able to give me a scholarship there because my folks didn't have a whole lot of money and we couldn't afford to do a whole lot. So I had to get a scholarship, and that ended up working out. So I kind of, for lack of a better term, tried to stick it to him to show him what he missed out on.
Yeah.
And then I got up to Tech and decided I like to have a good time and played about 3 or 4 tournaments in 2 years. But I was told I had a good time. What I remember. Yeah.
So All-American at Odessa College.
Yep.
How was your career at Odessa College?
I had 7 second place finishes. To this day, that still irritates me that I never can say I won a college golf tournament because I didn't. I was in 2 playoffs or 3 playoffs and then didn't win those. Second, 7 times total. And it still sticks to me to this day. It irritates me to no end that I can't say that. It
But
does.
still, you were in contention 7 times.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I was the number 1 player for Odessa College, and so I got to play with all these great people, right? All these different ones. And at the time, like I said, I didn't think I was going to go to Odessa College. I thought, 2-year school, it'll be nothing. These guys can play.
Yeah.
I mean, and the level that they could play at, I really thought I was going to go in and just walk all over everybody. No, not a chance.
Yeah.
And so it was a nice eye-opening experience for me to get my teeth kicked in the first couple events. You go, okay, I guess I got to play here. I guess not just showing up and winning.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a great experience.
I think some of my favorite stories you've told me is, or one of my favorite. You played some amateur events outside of the college realm, and I think one of them you were telling me you and your dad were at, and you were walking down the range, and there was the likes of like Phil Mickelson and Furyk and people on the range, and you got behind Furyk.
Yeah, so I played in the AJGA, which was back then, that was the big junior tour. You traveled all over the place, played in all these different courses and phenomenal. And I was in the same age group as Phil Mickelson, David Duval, Jim Furyk at the time. Trying to think, Justin Leonard, all these players that you're familiar with now. But at the time, they were still kids. I mean, we were 16, 17, 18 years old. They were great players. I thought I was too.
Yeah.
Thought I was. And I'm walking down the range and I see this, for lack of a better term, and I hope he doesn't find me and sue me or something, but it was the worst golf swing I've ever seen in my life. Now, I didn't know much about the golf swing at that time. I just knew how to take it back and try it and stuff like that. But this guy had a loop-de-loop, and I was like, who is that? And the guy said, well, that's James Furyk. And I was like, that guy will never make it with that swing. Shows you what I know about the golf swing and the game of golf. So, but yeah, that was kind of a humbling deal because I just thought that'll never hold up. I mean, it's so unconventional.
Yeah.
And then I found out later that his dad was a teaching pro, and he found that worked for him. He could get back to square really close, 6 inches from the ball, threw it and forward, but he just had a very unusual takeaway, and it proves you can do anything you want to with the game of golf. The swing doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be perfect at impact.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And repeatable.
Absolutely. 100%. It's not about consistency. I mean, it's not about perfection. It's about consistency. And if you can be consistent, I don't care if you're a cutter or a drawer or whatever, if you can make the same swing over and over again, you can play.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest way to put it. Because, nobody swings here is perfect, but you can play if you learn how to play it.
That's exactly right. And I think that's kind of, and maybe you would agree to this, more people understood that. Because I think that, what episode was it? Was it Rick and Dove that we were talking about how they're like pumping them out of a factory right now? All the swings look the same. And,
Oh, yeah.
and there's no uniqueness to players anymore. They all have the same swing. They all look like robots. And I think that was the beautiful part about the old heads of the game is, man, the swing looked so different, but it looked identical at impact.
100%. I mean, you had these guys, that weren't quote unquote the best ball strikers in the world or the best visual ball strikers in the world, but they knew how to get in the hole. They could maneuver a ball. Back then, when you didn't have the technology of no spin on the ball and these drivers that toe and heel impact just didn't move hardly at all, you had to really learn how to play. And so I personally think the players were so much better back then because they kind of had to be. Now you've got the equipment and the technology that, for lack of a better term, makes the game so much easier. And so now you put a quote unquote manufactured swing like you're talking about, and it's just an easier game for these college kids that just hit it forever. It's absolutely insane.
I still tell you, though, the guys that break apart, the guys that set themselves apart, the guys that make it, there's an it factor to them. There is a difference in their move that's unique to what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's this uniqueness. The people that don't make it, 9 times out of 10, we've talked about it a million times in here. It's usually something up here, right? And I think so many times what ends up happening is they start comparing themselves to others. So I wanted to touch on that as you're walking down the range. You're probably thinking, I can beat all these guys.
I thought that anyway, just because I had an ego and I thought I was really good.
But you almost have to have that, right?
100%. If you don't have that, you might as well not even show up. If you don't feel like you're the best and you have a chance to win, there's no point in being there.
That's right.
But watching some of those guys play, they all had these unique swings. I mean, there were some that were prettier than others, and these are guys you never even heard of ever again.
Yeah.
They didn't have what you're talking about, that it factor, which for me was the 6 inches in between your ears.
Yeah.
That's the hugest part of the game that I ever saw when I was a kid. Those
I
guys
think
that
that's
could
what
do it.
makes you really, really special in the game is just how you think your way through the golf course and how you just play the game. And you've got such a simplistic approach, as far as the swing goes. Your uniqueness is that you can tap into that.
Yeah, I don't care how you hit the ball. I'm not talking about me or you or anybody, just how you hit the ball. But if you understand how you hit the ball, if you understand what your weaknesses and strengths are with the golf swing, you can do this.
Yeah.
Whether you're a 20 handicap or a 2 handicap, the difference is how much you're able to put and apply to it.
Sure.
But that it factor, huge factor. Absolutely. Some of the guys that I thought were, for lack of a better term, better than I was mechanically, never saw again. And some of the ones like Furyk that looked just gosh awful. Look at him now. Yeah. Kicking the crap out of me and anybody else sitting in here. I mean, and you would have never thought that walking down the range looking at the guy. Mm-hmm. But phenomenal player.
I was going to say, you were probably one of about 1 million people that thought that about Jim Furyk. How many guys you think looked at his swing and said, he's got to change that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But the bottom line is Jim could repeat it.
100%.
And he had a mindset that was not robotic. And I think that's what happens to so many of these players, man. They start comparing themselves to other players. I don't know how many times I've heard in here well, Tiger does it this way. Well, Roy does it that way. Well, this person does it this way. It's like, yo, bro,
You're not Tiger.
you ain't Tiger.
Yeah.
Heck, you're not even couples,
Oh, yeah.
pick one of the oldest, better players you're not that guy,
You're not him.
right? Like the minute you can start embracing the fact that it's your move, right? That it's your uniqueness, then you'll have something.
Yeah.
There's two things I always told when I told youngsters when I was teaching. There was two primary things. It has to be yours, right? So you have to own that move.
100%.
And part of owning that move is understanding the uniqueness and being okay with it.
Yeah.
This is what I do, right? So owning that move. And the next thing is right here.
That's the big one.
You gotta be tough, which means what? Learn how to play. Learn how to use your uniqueness, your move, and then go learn how to play. I don't know how many parents I said, just watch. When he or she gets out there and just plays with this and they learn how to play, you're going to have something.
Oh yeah. When I was a kid, I hated practicing on the range because you're just trying to repeat. I wanted to go on the golf course. Put me behind a tree, put me in a spot I've never been before, because you got to learn how to play.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, okay, let's hit the ball perfectly and stuff. And great, that's fantastic. But if you don't know how to get on the golf course and play and get up and down and stuff like that, I mean, it's just, and that's the mental toughness you're talking about. You have to learn how to play. You can be the best ball striker in the world. If you can't putt and chip, you're going to be an average golfer.
Well, how many of these bombers do you see that just, they hit it long and wrong and they get behind a tree or they get in, and they make 7.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know how to go make a 4 or a 5.
That's right.
From that spot.
That's right. So funny story with that. Kyle Howard, my golf coach at OC, he would go to certain holes on the golf course that we were playing and stand there because it was kind of a risk reward kind of thing. Well, back then I was a long hitter for my time, but I was very inaccurate. And so I carried a 1-iron, and he would be on the tee box and he would make sure that I was hitting the 1-iron. And if he saw me pull the driver out, he'd just say, Hey, farmer, put that back up, get your 1-iron, get you in play, stuff like that. And so because of that, that was what I didn't have at the time. I needed that because I wasn't smart enough theoretically to get around the golf course, in that
Get
term.
your 1-iron out.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Okay, for everybody nowadays, a 1-iron was basically a putter with a little bit of loft.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's what a 1-iron was. But it was a great club for me because I was a downward striker of the ball. And so it came off really low and hot and stingy, which was great.
Yeah.
But I could control it. The driver, I might hit it 290, which back then was incredibly long, but I might be behind a tree and making a bogey or a double.
Yeah.
So that's
crazy.
Yeah.
Remember,
I mean, nowadays, if you said, what's easier to hit, a driver or a 1-iron?
it's a driver.
it's driver,
every
no
time.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much technology change to your
gosh.
point, right?
In fact, does anybody even make a 1-iron? I think there's maybe one company.
Well, loft wise.
Well,
yeah.
yes. They take a
Loft-wise,
tube
yes.
and it, okay, we got a 2-iron.
Yeah.
I remember Top Flight made one when Top Flight was a reputable brand.
Mm-hmm.
They made a muscle back 1-iron, and the head was like that long. It was
Yeah.
like that tall.
So
You don't
of course
miss
you
hitting.
remember that. Mr. Old School over there.
So here's old school. My 1-iron, believe it or not, was a Hogan. It was called a Magnum. It might be the worst looking club next to the Cleveland VAS that was ever made in life, but it worked for me.
Yeah.
And at the time, my dad didn't have a lot of money. He just, hey, I got your 1-iron here, try it and see. And so I
Got
learned
this
how
at
to
the
play.
pawn shop, Dave.
He might have. He very well might have. And that was great. I learned how to play.
That's where I got my first one.
There you go. Yeah.
You know?
So that's what you had to do back then.
Yeah.
Everybody was pawning their 1-irons.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'd love to still have it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to see it.
Yeah.
I look back at them and I go, how did I even attempt to hit this? Like, it's just so much different. But, well, I want to touch on something, man, because I'm going to tell you something, David. I hope, like heck, that Kyle Howard watches this. He's a man I have tremendous amount of respect for. and always have since I moved here. And you know, in my position when I first moved here, I was in that position of competition, so to speak.
Yep. Sure.
But Kyle and I never played that game.
Yeah.
We were always very respectful to one another and worked together to serve the community because that's how he was.
Sure.
And I just always enjoyed going over there. And Kyle secretly, I wanted David Farmer from jump, right? I always wanted to steal David Farmer, but out of respect for Kyle, I would have never, ever, ever approached you about that. But tell us about that relationship, man.
So
You guys got pretty tight.
he's my second dad
Yeah.
to this day. I don't talk to him very often anymore. He's retired and he lives off and he's got his own thing, but that's great. But no, he was my second dad. He recruited me to go to Odessa College, which at the time I didn't think I was going to go. Luckily, that worked out pretty good, right? But he literally took me under his wing. I think I was his first recruit that he signed. I'm not 100% sure. He had a team that he acquired, and then I think I was his first signee. But just as nice, as honorable a man as you'll ever meet,
Yeah.
and just fantastic. I can't say enough good things about him. I mean, just like I said, my second dad.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah.
And you can see the influence.
Oh,
You know.
morally, ethically, just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I try to do that too with my day. And I learned a lot of that from him, but just watching him, how he treated people and the respect level. And the amazing thing is he might see a guy 5 years later that he's only seen one time, and he'll say, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" And I'm
Yeah,
like,
dude.
how do you possibly know that?
It's so crazy.
I see a guy 2 weeks ago that I talked to for 10 minutes, and I remember the face. I have no idea what his name is.
Same.
It's
so bad.
crazy to me. It's gotten worse as I've gotten older.
Me too.
But he couldn't remember, and he would be talking about things that nobody should remember.
Yeah.
And that level, I was like, "God, I wish I could do that." I never been able to. But yeah, just crazy and just a wonderful individual. Not a bad thing to say about the man.
My old mentor, Rod Duckworth, was the same way. And Rod tried to teach me every which way you could imagine to remember names because Rod was incredible. And the thing that I loved about Rod, I don't know if this is how you feel about it, but like Rod wasn't afraid to mess your name up. I'm deathly afraid of that. I don't want to go up to Jim and say, "Hey, Bill," and it's Jim. Oh. And I don't know if that's because I feel bad for calling Bill Jim or Jim Bill, right? Or if I'm just embarrassed
forgot
myself,
his
right? Because I'm an idiot. But Rod would walk up and he'd go, "That's right, man. I'm sorry. Good God. What was I thinking?" And he could just move on.
Yeah.
And I would fumble all over myself and turn bright red. But Kyle never had that problem, dude. That guy was, and it was so cool when you'd walk into his shop. I mean, dude, I just remember feeling like he was a best friend. Because he would just be, "Jared, how you doing?" You know, just like so nice, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He did it to everybody, dude.
That Rolodex he had in his brain of people and how he kept the memory. Good gosh, if you could sell that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I'm the same way you are as far as people. If I see somebody, like I said 2 weeks ago, and I don't remember their name, I said, "Hey, Jared, can you go?"
Yeah.
You know, because I feel bad because I don't want I don't want to call him the wrong name.
Yeah.
And even though I probably doesn't matter, and he probably doesn't. Because if you call me the wrong name that you saw, I don't care. If you call me Bob and I know it's David, it doesn't really bother me.
There's one name that bothers you.
I'm
Yeah, I want to hear this.
yes, I'm kind of.
You got called.
Oh, okay.
He got called
Gerald.
Gerald the other day.
Love Gerald, but I don't want to be compared to Gerald. Guy comes in and he says, "Hey, what are you doing, buddy?" I was like, "I'm great. I'm fine. What can I help you with?" He said, since y'all moved from the other store and didn't even think anything about it." And he said, "So are you working back and forth between the Amarillo and this store on a part-time basis?" And it just clicked. He said, "He thinks I'm Gerald." And I was like, I'm kind of offended.
Yeah.
But I love Gerald. And I
Yeah.
was kind of offended. And I said, you think I'm Gerald, don't you? He said, you're not Gerald. And here's the thing. We're both old. We both walk terribly around the shop, right? I understand
They
the
both have little
comparison.
scruff.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand the comparison.
Both do a lot
I
of
was
grits.
like, yep. But I was like, oh gosh, okay, fine, take it for what it is. And when I told people, y'all got the biggest laugh, Zarek damn near fell over laughing so hard because ha 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 ha. He always gives me crap. They made the old man anyway, so just amplified all that stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, but again, it didn't really bother me,
Yeah.
other than the fact of I just don't want to be called Gerald.
Yeah.
Mess up my name. Yeah, exactly.
Well, David.
Yeah. So how long did you work for Kyle?
I left Ratliff. I was actually at Ratliff after college from 92 to 02. I was an assistant for 6 years. I was the head pro for 4. And to be fair, I was starting a family. I was tired of working 80 hours a week in the golf business because that's what you do if you do a good job. And bless her heart, my wife was just tired of me never being home and stuff like that. And so Kyle had opened Golf Etc. And so in 2003, I started working for him. And I believe it was 2017, 2018. So 14 or 15 years that I worked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, long time.
And that's Golf Etc. closed because Kyle retired.
That's right.
Yeah.
He wanted to retire. He was done, and bless his heart, he
Sure.
put his time in it, and he wanted to retire.
Yeah.
And I told Kyle, I said, if you want to try to sell it or run it, I'll be happy to run it for you. I don't mind doing that. He said, well, would you want to buy it? And I said, no, sir, I really wouldn't. I had just bought a house, and I had a nice big fat mortgage.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I didn't want another payment to the bank. So I said, no. And so I think within like 5 or 6 months, he just kind of tried to sell everything. And I think it was 2018 when he finally shut the doors for sure.
Yeah. And then you went from there.
The only time in my life I have never been in the golf business. I worked 2 years in the oil field, knew nothing about it. I still don't know anything about it, but they paid me fairly well for what little knowledge I knew. And then COVID hit, and hey, guys, we're shutting her down, and bye-bye.
Yeah. Have
So-
a nice life.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
And I was like, well, that's what I've heard about the oil field, but again, I'd never experienced it, and never experience it again.
Yeah.
It's our livelihood, but it's a tough gig.
But it led you here.
It did, absolutely. You know, and again, when I got laid off, and I've never been laid off, I have never been unemployed since I was 22 years old and left college. I didn't know what it was like, right? And so I'm sitting around the house going, this kind of stinks. This is not really what I want to do. And so I called you, and I was like, well, I know it's COVID. I know everybody's closed. Do you have anything? And you said, yeah, absolutely. And I didn't know about that you wanted me or whatever. I mean, we've had a relationship, but never very tight. It was, hey, how you doing? Stuff like that. I didn't know you very well, right? Mm-hmm. To that extent. So I kind of threw it out there, you know, back in the golf business, and you fully said, love to have you. That'd be great. So
Should have seen me scrambling, boy.
Yeah, I'll make a way.
Yeah. I was so excited.
Yes, sir.
I was like, yes. Because I can't remember, but I think we had something before that. Like maybe I'd reached out to you, or I can't remember.
it had been a while back or something, but you'd said, hey, if anything ever happens,
Yeah.
I'd love to have you over here. But I didn't take it as really just, it was kind of an almost in passing, right?
Yeah.
If anything
Yeah.
happens, you know, hey, give me some thought and stuff like that. And to be fair, you guys are so busy. I mean, you guys were just doing wonderful and stuff like that. And I was like, he's not going to have time for me and stuff like that. So to be fair, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know, I really didn't. So worked out well for me. Been here 4
me
years
too,
now.
man.
Yeah.
I love having you here, dude. You're incredible. And the thing about David, folks, and I don't want to, divulge too much because it's your information to give, but you've had some health issues, you know, and you can say whatever you want to say on that, but here's the thing: his health issues, the vast majority of people on this planet would half-ass everything, you know, with the scare and stuff that you had.
Sure.
And you're here every day. You're up on those feet all the time. Where, you know, it doesn't do us any good to tell him to chill or this. I'm fine. I'm doing fittings. I'm okay. Well, can we at least take your? No, just it helps me to sit down in the bay and, you know, stuff like this, right? And that's always appreciated, number one. But
Thank you.
number two, man, that's just your character. That's what makes you just such a great, honorable guy. Just, I mean, I think Kyle would be very proud. Your daddy would be very proud because that's who you are.
That's right.
And it's very cool. It's
So
very cool.
the health issues, I have no secrets. I could care less. I just don't make it usually public information, right? I have what they call CHF. It means congestive heart failure. I'm basically down to 10%. And for what people that don't know what that means, take your cell phone, put it down to 10%. I just don't have a charger. I'm just continuing to go down. So at some point, I will be on a transplant list for hearts, stuff like that. But here's the cool part. When I had a heart attack 11 years ago now, I think 2013, they told me at the time that I had 7 to 10 years and that I would probably not see my daughter graduate high school. She's a senior this year. Yeah. So it's not great, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. You got me to cry on camera. It irritates me.
Sorry. Bro.
No, it's all right.
Well, I think that's what's really cool about your story, man. Is it's a story of just move forward no matter what, and perseverance, and we gonna get you that graduation, and then next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get that heart figured out. So,
well, I'm luckier than most. Trust me, I've had a wonderful life. So, if something happened to me tomorrow, other than my wife and kids, I've had a wonderful life. I've got no qualms about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I would like to be around a lot longer to possibly see some grandkids and stuff like that. And, 29 years with my wife as of this week, I'd love to see 40. Is that realistic? Probably not, but we're going to see what we can do. Right.
Yeah.
So all the medicine, all the pills, all the injections I take and all that stuff like that, it's trying to maintain as long as I can.
Sure.
Knowing it's not, but it is what it is. And I've had a few people reach out that have had heart issues that I found out, and it's not a death sentence by any stretch. It's just you got to be a little bit careful with what you do, and you got to do this and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, yeah. So that is definitely in the future tense, but I hope it's a little farther away than closer.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't mind. If people ask me, I'll tell them. I'm just not going to just elaborate everything about it.
Yeah.
Right? But since you asked, and since you already know everything, so yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool because, again, I think so many people in your situation might despair, might be afraid. And I'm sure all of those types of things have hit you in some way, shape, or form at some point. But you never let that show. You just keep moving forward. And it's a really cool part of your journey, man.
Well, I appreciate it. You can always say, "Oh, poor pitiful me." It doesn't do you any good. That doesn't serve you any purpose at all.
Yeah.
Right.
I have days where I don't feel good. I have days where I'm just, oh man. But again, that's just life.
Yeah.
You deal with it and you go on and do what you can. And that's the easiest way to do it.
Well, what's really crazy is you never get sick either.
Yeah, kind of weird. I never had a sick day in all these years, and then all of a sudden I have a heart attack. I'm literally playing golf the day of, walking, and about 12 hours later that night, I was 100% blocked in the Widowmaker on the table and getting a stent put in, and they said I was about 10 to 15 minutes away from not being here. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How's that possible? I played golf today. I felt fine. And
Yeah.
there you go. So
Like you had no idea.
no, I never got sick. I literally, I never missed a day of work for sickness. Other than the fact I've been overweight my whole life. I was never sick. I never had health issues, anything like that. And then, oh, by the way, hey, guess what? We're going to do a little heart thing on you here. Oh, great. Fantastic.
Now, did you go to the doctor a lot or anything like that? You probably weren't a doctor guy.
I never took one medication. I never took any pills. I had insurance. I don't know why. I never used it.
Yeah.
And I literally, until I was 43, never went to the doctor for anything. And then boom, now I'm at the doctor every other week, seems like.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that crazy?
Wild.
Yeah, you just never know.
Well, I had a good friend of mine over at the house last night, Jeff Kramer, and he's been just worried sick about his heart. He went and got him a Apple Watch. He's tracking this and that. And it made me think of you, honestly, because I'm sitting in there in that moment and I'm trying to tell Jeff, like, yo, bro, you're fine. Like, you're going to be all right, And at the same time, in the back of my head, I knew that's how you felt. It was like, dude, I felt great. Like, I didn't know anything was wrong. And then bang.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, it's good that you're doing this,
Yeah.
that you're being proactive about it.
Yeah.
But
As my doctor told me, it was not genetic. There's no family history of this or anything like this. It was just, if you're in line and you're getting hearts passed out, you just got a bad one. I mean, that's lack of a better term. He said,
Yeah.
Nothing you could have done about it, because I didn't smoke. I didn't drink except for a couple years in college, but other than that, fairly healthy lifestyle. I kind of like to eat, and I kind of like to eat a lot,
Yeah.
So other than that,
you are a machine, dude.
I can put away some food.
It's impressive.
Put a
If you want a rib at the Christmas party, you got to beat him.
be first.
Yep.
Yeah, don't be second. Don't
Big
be
old
behind
pile
me.
of shrimp spaghetti.
The homemade.
Yeah, the homemade shrimp spaghetti. Which, another thing about David is he likes garlic. He loves garlic.
He's a garlic guy.
He's a garlic guy, and there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Garlic's actually really good for you.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not why I do it, but yeah, it's supposed to be.
He loves
But
garlic.
win-win.
Yeah, win.
Except for y'all if I mix my spaghetti up here with the garlic.
Oh Lord,
Yeah.
works out. It works out.
But is it an obnoxious amount
It's
of
an
garlic?
obnoxious amount of garlic,
It's actually not. It's just if you don't like the smell of garlic, it's,
bro.
but-
I cook with garlic, and when I reheat the food, I don't smell the garlic like I smell the garlic up here.
It's how often is that? Maybe once a month. It's not often.
No, it's not. I'm not like it's not a diss. Like it's,
Right.
You just like
How much garlic do you put in?
A bowl of spaghetti for him only.
Yeah, because my wife and kids do not like garlic at all. So when I'm making spaghetti, which is about maybe once every couple of weeks, I will make my side and their side as far as the sauces go. And in my side, it's simply just meat and sauce, big deal. In mine, it's mushrooms, it's garlic, it's spaghetti, it's shrimp, it's a couple other things. And I like the garlic. I like the flavor of it. And so then what I'll do, I'll make mounds of it, and then I'll store it and bring it up here for lunch one time. And he was like, my God, what is that?
Well, the reason the story started is he brought. It was on Wednesday. You brought spaghetti, leftover
right.
spaghetti.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, here we go. He's putting it in the microwave. I'm like, it's about to smell like garlic. He goes, no, there's no garlic in this.
Yep.
Smelled fine.
Yep. Just my wife and kids at that time. It was just, yep. No me. No garlic.
you. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
He likes the garlic. And it's a win-win because it is very good for you.
Which I didn't know at the time, but I'll take what I can get.
It's like I'm about to overload.
Yeah. I hope it's good for me because I'm not stopping eating that.
So here's the thing. I know this is golf, right? But today's a very important day. Do you know what today is, Clinton?
Today's Saturday.
Today is a Saturday. Kana, do you know what today is?
I know what today is.
I'm assuming it has something to do with his shirt.
Oh, college football.
Oh, you mean the defending national champions. I'm glad you brought that up. This is the Jordan hoodie. This is a new one for this year that I'm donning. Now, I was really hoping that this would have said national champions on it, but it's all right. I got one on the way. David, you're a Tech fan.
Huge Tech fan.
Are they playing today?
They are playing the powerhouse Abilene Christian. They are a 36-point favorite.
Okay.
So it should be a squeaker,
Yeah.
And if it's close, I'm going to be irritated.
Now, do you know, are they going to be any good this year?
No, they're never any good.
Okay.
We are a solid 8-4 with a 4-4 Big 12 or Big 18, whatever they have now with Arizona
Big
State.
18.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It doesn't even recognize anymore. But yes, I'm a huge Tech fan. Huge Tech fan.
And
I was
Connor?
before.
A&M?
Gig 'em.
Oh, boy.
Irish, is that who they're playing today?
Mm-hmm.
Go Irish.
We're going to
Connor?
beat the Fighting Irish. Mark
You are-
my
you are home.
words, this is the start of the national championship year. The Texas
Uh-oh.
A&M.
Oh, is this the year?
This
Oh
is the
boy.
year.
Just like last year and the year before and the year
First year
before?
under Elko. He's going to take us to greatness.
I think I heard that with your $150 million coach as well.
I was never big on Jimbo. Don't put those words in my mouth.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Clinton,
this is the start of the
Mississippi
season.
State, right?
We play Eastern Kentucky today at 5:00
What's the line on that one? 78?
at least.
Yeah.
It's a JUCO school, I think.
Oh, my gosh.
There were two great ones last night. TCU struggled to get past Stanford. That was a fun one to watch. It took Wisconsin a while to put away Western Michigan. There was some good stuff.
Could be an upsetting
North
season
Carolina
for a lot of
State
people.
The other night, too.
Yeah, North Carolina State.
Well, did Colorado end up winning?
They ended up winning,
barely,
but
Barely.
Oof.
you know what was funny about that game is Prime in the interview after the game. You know, they have the presser, and Prime's like, "I'm gonna try not. I don't cuss, but I'm gonna try not to be upset." Blah blah blah. He was all big mad. I was like, "Bro, that was on you, bro. He got the ball back with like a minute 30, and North Dakota State had one timeout. First play they run, a go route.
I don't know what that means.
Wasted time.
They're throwing it.
Yeah, you trying to run the ball, use their time.
Run the ball, make them use their timeout. He didn't do that.
That's
So then, really brilliant. They throw it again. Shador nearly gets killed. And then they decide to run the last two plays. So they end up giving the ball back to North Dakota
with a
State.
lot of time.
Not with a lot of time, but with enough time in college football. And they got lucky. Maybe they scouted this. Maybe he can sit on his high horse we knew his quarterback couldn't throw it that far. But, I mean, the kid threw it from the 50 and got it to the 5-yard line, and North Dakota State caught that football.
Ooh.
That was 5 yards away from a uh-oh.
Yeah. I saw the interview of him on the field after some big play, and he's like, I don't cuss, but I sure thought it.
Yeah. Well, that was that play.
Yeah.
He was mad because that kid caught it, and
Yeah.
the DBs didn't knock it down.
when
But
they
it's
threw
like,
it, yeah. He's like,
dang, bro. Like, that's all on you.
I don't use curse words, but I sure thought it.
Yeah. He should have been.
Yeah. So who's the big game today? Like, is
11
there,
o'clock. Clemson and Georgia.
Clemson and Georgia
the
are
only-
playing at 11.
I believe that's the only two that are nationally ranked playing each
so
other.
is
No,
Georgia
A&M and Notre Dame.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep. I forgot about it.
is Georgia out number one?
We always do.
Yeah, we do.
Who came out number one?
Right now, Georgia's
Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, with going to the 12 this year, which I think is great.
I do too.
Open up the field a little bit. Now, if you just win your conference, hell, you're in. You don't have to worry about trying to schedule these patsies like Tech playing Christian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Play some schools because if
Yep.
you lose a couple of games, you're still okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to where if you don't go 11-1 or 12-1 or 12-0, you just never had a chance to do anything.
Yep. I think it should be open too.
Sure.
Yep.
So Taylor Lewan's one of my favorite people on the planet. He played at Michigan and went on to have a great career in the NFL. And Lewan is hilarious. He's with Bussin' with the Boys, right? And I was watching their deal this morning, and they were kind of going through doing their picks and all of that. And man, there's a lot of disrespect on my boys.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, why are we just gonna suck now? I don't understand.
It's just
Do you-
because y'all lost.
Well,
a
I
lot.
think this brings up a great question. Does the coach make that big of a difference?
listen, I mean, I think Harbaugh makes a big difference.
But big enough from y'all to go to national champs to a losing season?
They're predicting a losing season for Michigan this year?
No, but for all intents and purposes, right? They think that the experts think Penn State is going to beat us. They think Ohio State's going to beat us. They think Oregon, USC, all these
They're predicting
clowns.
Might as
fourth
well.
or fifth, basically. Fourth or fifth in the conference is what they're predicting.
Yeah, we got to go to Washington, and we're going to lose to Washington. Like,
Might as well be a losing season.
yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. With that prestige, if you go 8-4, like if Tech goes 8-4, I'm tickled to death.
Yeah.
They go 8-4, they're like,
like,
oh my God, what are we going to do? This is terrible. So, I mean, it's just a perspective thing.
we got to hear people like Tim Morgan and Buckeye Nation talking all their mess.
Now I have a question.
Crazy.
Harbaugh goes to the NFL. What was the black coach that
Sharon Moore.
is he the coach now?
Yeah.
Okay, he did really good.
Well, he coached 6 games last year and won all of them.
Yeah,
So one
so-
of those games was Ohio State. The other one was Penn State.
Y'all are fine. Y'all are good.
I'm just saying, and we got Jaden, true freshman. He's ready to come in and play right now at quarterback. And the 2 quarterbacks we got that are kind of leading the charge, so to speak, they haven't even said Jaden won't play. They haven't said that yet.
We learned today who's the starter.
I think you're going to see a rotational system,
Okay.
which I think is kind of cool. We did that a little bit with JJ when he was, but second, I can't remember the kid's name's eluding me right now because pressure's on, but he's the closest thing to JJ McCarthy since JJ McCarthy, and we're only 1 year removed from that kid.
Yeah.
So Harbaugh had these guys in the system already, right? So Sharon's got some studs.
Got a good pool to pull.
Who are they
Yeah.
playing today? Who's the
Fresno State today, which that's an athletic squad.
It's not quite the pushover.
I'm nervous before every game. Okay. Because I've seen Appalachian State come in and beat our ass. So,
Coastal Carolina.
By the way, if y'all ever want
that's never happened.
if y'all ever come in the shop and you see Jared and you want a discount, say go blue.
Yeah.
If you want to get charged double, say go Buckeyes. And if he doesn't hit you in the face, then he'll charge
Yeah.
you double.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please don't. Please don't come in and say go Buckeyes.
That makes our life
We
tough
like
that
happy
day.
Jared.
That's right. Yes. we don't like pee off Jared.
Here's the truth is one of my dearest friends, God rest his soul, Bob Chapman, was a Michigan State Spartan. And I've always had a lot of love for Michigan State on the basketball program side because I love Tom Izzo. And I think he's been I think he's one of the most brilliant coaches that's ever done it. And Chap played basketball for them. Chap well as well, but we always went back and forth. It was always nice, good fun. And now I have Tim, who, thank goodness, he's back in Midland a little bit now, man, because I've missed him so much, and we go back and forth on those Buckeyes all the time, man.
If you ever walk into Jared's office and you see little Buckeyes stickers,
Yeah.
all over random stuff, those are the years that the Buckeyes beat Michigan, and he got to put a Buckeye sticker.
Oh my God, it was a lot of years, dude. I had Buckeye. So Tim, I don't know, Clint. You may not know this. Tim played for Ohio State,
I didn't know that.
and again, all joking aside, I do respect Ohio State. I really do because it's a great program, great history, and because of Tim Morgan's story, I'll always have that respect for Woody Hayes and in that program. But Tim blew his knee out his freshman year, like catastrophic. Didn't have ACL, MCL surgeries back then, and they kept his scholarship, bro.
That's pretty cool.
Allowed him
'cause
to
they-
stay.
He got to stay and be a Buckeye, and I've always thought that was such a cool story.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen anymore. And it's just really cool to see that, to know that happened.
How long ago was this?
Oh gosh,
70s, 80s.
no, it was the 70s for sure. I want to say early 70s. I want to say early 70s,
Okay.
early mid 70s.
Well, they did that more back then than they would have now. He does that now.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
His
like you
college
just don't
cut.
see that anymore.
you
You
don't.
know, those guys would transfer portal, blah blah blah, right? But
Replace him in a second.
they also have surgeries to help fix that.
Absolutely.
Where they didn't back then.
Sure.
But there's great stories, great history, great traditions. That's why I love this time of year.
Yeah.
It's I just wanted to bring it up because it gets me going. I don't know. Maybe it'd be fun to do some picks every once in a while on here, Clinton.
All right. Well, let's pick our teams today.
I will pick Texas Tech over Abilene Christian. Feel pretty comfortable about that, just in case. Jared, your pick?
Well, David, I'm going to take the 36th and Abilene Christian. Connor,
I'm going to take Tennessee over Chattanooga. We got a couple Midland boys playing for that squad.
okay, that's what's up. Now, we also have another Midland kid playing for Purdue, correct?
Yes, Marcos.
Marcos,
Graduated
yeah.
from Lee.
Now, I heard an interesting thing about him. I don't know. This kid played for Lee. He went to Purdue.
Is he actually playing as a freshman?
No,
Hudson
not
Card's
quite.
going to start. For
Yeah,
them.
I don't think he's
Okay.
starting.
Gotcha.
But this is crazy. I heard this yesterday or the day before from a customer. This kid's already, it's being said that he could be a potential first rounder in the NFL
What
draft.
position does he play?
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, and somebody told me he's already ranked within the NFL guys.
Holy cow. That's unbelievable. As a
Yes.
freshman.
Isn't that
Wow.
cool? So, Midland, Texas, man.
Yeah.
Is he? Because everybody watching this, you'll learn now, but all these guys know I don't know anything about sports or football specifically. Is he a red-shirted freshman or is he just a freshman so
No, he's a freshman this year.
My assumption is they'll redshirt him, but
that he doesn't lose eligibility?
yeah, I don't know that, but yeah, that's my assumption. And the other side of it is if he's that highly ranked
Why is
already,
he not playing?
shoot, he might see the field this year, man. So keep an eye on Purdue. That would be a really cool deal. Because he's a local Midland boy. Connor, I'm going to tell you. I think y'all have a fight tonight on your hands. I think this is the Notre Dame's. Now, here's another the bussing with the boys. I was telling you, Taylor Dewan, he brought this up. Actually, his co-host brought this up. If you look at the Notre Dame schedule, this is the Super Bowl for them tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
The rest of the
They
year's
play
cheese.
nobody.
Their schedule's that week. The
It's
rest of the year.
terrible.
Really?
It's terrible.
If they win this game, they're in the top 12.
Bingo.
Wow.
If they beat the Ags tonight and then the Ags go on and be successful and Notre Dame remains undefeated, there's a really good chance they're going to get in and they don't play anybody.
So that's a very important point. The Aggies have to have a successful season though, so that the win looks better.
Yeah. But also if Notre Dame's undefeated, how do you deny them in
Yeah.
this new system?
Sure.
If Notre Dame goes 12-0 or 11-1, they're in the final 12. There's just
Is this going to be a?
They're a media darling, dude.
That's right, absolutely right. Absolutely.
Is this going to be
correct.
another 2012-13 national championship when Alabama just blew them out?
If they get
Oh,
that
yeah.
far, it very well could be.
So a lot of
Manti Te'o.
what's interesting about this game
I remember that.
is the catfish.
Oh, terrible.
The national championship catfish for them too.
Terrible.
Dude, have you seen that special on that?
It's bad.
Holy crap.
He was fully invested.
Yeah, and that dude's crazy. That acted like a female. And now he dresses like a female. Don't get me started. Forget it.
Sorry.
That's another podcast.
Well, yeah, and yeah. You know how the world is. I mean, it's freaking crazy.
Kind of glad I'm old now.
I was Maniscalco right there. Did you see that? Freaking crazy. What's wrong with me? Okay, you're taking Mississippi State, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So let's do it like this because we have our four teams, right?
Yeah.
Let's call the record for the year. What's your team going to go?
David's 8-4. He's
say,
on record
I say
with
8-4.
Connor, national championship year. What are y'all going to do?
4-8.
I got to give us some. Wow.
You can edit that out later.
You're
I'm sorry.
projecting right there, David. Anyways, I'm gonna give it a solid 10-2.
10-2.
10-2 in the SEC.
You
gets
do
in the
know
final
that your
12.
stud running back went down like 2 weeks ago, right?
We got 3 stud running backs. I don't want to
Here
hear
we
it.
go.
I'm gonna go solid 7-5 for Mississippi State this year.
7-5. I'll be honest with you, Clinton. I haven't really looked at Mississippi State. I don't know how good or not they are. I don't know, but that seems reasonable.
Yeah, we're gonna get that first marked off today.
Well, here's what's going to happen in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
We are going to beat. I watched Michigan State play last night. We're going to beat Sparty, little brother, by a million. I've never seen a quarterback that bad. In fact, if they beat us, I'm going to be so depressed, honestly. But they're not. We're going to beat them by a million. We are going to be, I believe we'll be 11-0 at the time, or 10-0.
Going into Ohio State.
Yeah, and we're going to the shoe. We're on a 3-game streak. And we're going to make it 4 this year, baby.
4 natties?
No,
Oh, 4 in a row.
4 in a
Ohio
row
State.
against
Over
Ohio State.
which is unheard of.
We're going to smoke them like a ham, to quote Cody. And then we're getting in the playoffs.
I like it.
And then
Here it comes.
we're going to slap Georgia around. And we're going to win another natty.
Ah, there it is.
We're going back to back, baby.
back-to-back natties.
Huh?
like
How do you like that?
I like it.
So what happens after you wake up?
So you're going
Well, I'll be pissed off, right? If we don't do it, but
undefeated.
I'm calling it.
Undefeated.
That's big.
That's bold, isn't it?
That is very bold.
It's bold
I
because
wish
I'm
I
going to
felt
tell you
that
right
confident.
now, you get online, you look at the schedule. Our schedule's brutal.
Well, the Big 12 schedule, the SEC schedule. I'm sorry, but if you're in that conference and you go 10-2, you deserve to be in the final 12.
I agree.
I mean, it's
I
that
agree.
brutal.
So what's UT do this year?
Well, they're gonna
0-12.
come. They're gonna come to Ann Arbor next week,
Yeah.
and they're
Well,
gonna
that's a
get
big game.
slapped around in Ann Arbor.
That's a big game.
Ewers is gonna be. He's gonna find out why it's a good thing he left Ohio State. We're gonna slap around the Longhorns, man.
But they're SEC this year, right?
Yeah.
I think that's true. But what are they going to do in the SEC?
They're going to lose to
Depends
OU.
on if you believe
They're
the
going to lose
experts.
to A&M.
You know what? I agree with Connor here. I think A&M. Hey, Connor, are they? Tell me if I'm wrong, but are they doing the? Are they rekindling the rivalry this year? And is it neutral site or home and home? What do they do there?
Oh, I can't remember the site. We do play each other this year. I know that they rekindled the Red River rivalry with OU in Texas. They'll be playing that in Dallas.
Now, didn't they do the schedule where Texas and A&M play each other every year now? Or is it every other year? That I don't know.
I think they're going to do every year, and my hope is that it's a Thanksgiving deal again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, Connor, don't you have Google over there? I mean, come on.
A&M Longhorn game is going to be a neutral site game.
Where at?
Houston.
Houston. Aggies win. Aggies win the first. I'm telling you, that's the game I look forward to. Gosh, I'm so glad college football is now better again
Yeah.
because A&M and Texas are playing each other. That rivalry was one of the finest rivalries
Well, when you talk
on the planet.
Michigan, Ohio State.
Yes.
You talk about Auburn, Alabama. You talk about Army, Navy. Texas and A&M were top 5,
man.
top 6 rivalries of all time.
and it's always a great game, David.
Usually
It's
it is.
always a great game.
because
Hold
they
on.
hate each other.
The game is in Dallas, and then the next year they move it. But it's going to be a neutral site.
Neutral site. But they
That
are playing each
sucks.
other every year.
Yes.
That sucks, man. I don't like that.
You like the
I
home
think-
crowd.
I think,
Absolutely.
dude. Okay, here's another fun one. Stadiums. So when I retire from from doing this, me and my buddy Boot, we're hitting the road. Every year we're going to go to a great stadium and watch a game, right?
College football or just in general?
College football.
College football.
Then once we get that kicked, then we'll start working on like Lambeau Field and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely.
But as you know, 2 years ago was my first ever trip to the big house.
That really was too. I didn't know that.
I had never been before in my life.
Wow. I didn't know that. I assumed you'd been before.
And
Okay.
never been able to afford it. Never just bit the bullet and went for it. I always let work, rule what I was going to do. And the guys got together, and what a great gift. But they sent me to Ann Arbor to watch Penn State. And I was the last, my claim to fame, I was the last person in the stadium that day with my wife.
You were the last ones to leave?
Yes, sir. And that's no lie. We literally sat there and watched all the employees. They bring buses in, and they take them over to their vehicles through these buses.
Okay.
So they are all lined up in the stadium, and we were literally the last people in the stadium.
So how many hours after the game ended was that?
You'd shock you, only an hour.
What?
That
place was empty.
Wow.
In an hour.
Wild.
Empty.
That blows my mind.
And so we're walking out of the stadium. Nicole looks at me and she says, and I've literally got my hand on the little iron bars to push the gate open. And she said this. She said, "Okay, how was it?
Duh.
Is it everything you thought it would be?" And I went, "It was hands down, if not the greatest, one of the greatest days of my life. It was an unbelievable experience. It was one of the coolest stadiums I've ever been in my entire life. And I can't believe I have to say this out loud. But if to this day you want to ask, what's the most unbelievable stadium you've ever been in? I'm going to tell you the most unbelievable stadium I've ever been in is the Big House. But if you ask me, what is the most unbelievable experience with football that you've ever had?
The Aggies.
It was Kyle Field.
Yeah.
There is an electricity that runs through your veins when that place gets going. And it is like Michigan, all the crowd noise, the way it's designed, it goes straight down to the field. So you can see the players are going, what the crap? They can't hear anything. But it's just loud. Not A&M. A&M rocks.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not
How many
kidding
times
you.
you in there?
3.
Okay. Same experience every time as far as
I've watched them play South Kakalaki. I watched them play Bama. And I can't remember.
so you haven't seen a Texas A&M game.
No,
Okay.
I want to see that. My sweet wife, she supports U of M so much. I've kind of, I've almost got her. But she's going to be donning that Aggie gear today because the rule is, the rule is it's whoever's got the bigger game,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So next week,
It's you.
she's going to be maize and
it's
blue
you.
through and through
Yeah.
for the UT game. But that's for 2 reasons. She hates Texas as much as
Everybody
anybody,
hates
right?
Texas.
Yeah. And so, but I will tell you, Kyle Field, if you haven't gone and you thought about go.
Yeah.
It's the most unbelievable place I've ever been. And that today, my friend, everything in me wants to say Notre Dame's going to give them fits. I don't think so.
I think A&M's just going to.
I think A&M, I think that environment's going to be too much for the Irish.
Sure.
So that's one of those where the actual home field advantage is
Makes a difference.
absolutely.
Yeah, David. And if you
How
haven't
many
been
points?
there,
Touchdown favorite, but with the
3.
home field, you think it's 3 touchdown favorite with the home field?
oh no, you're asking what the
Yes.
I thought you were asking what the line was.
They always say that home field is 3 points. That they always say, oh, it's worth 3
Not at
points.
A&M.
Worth way
It's a
more.
touchdown.
Way more. Okay.
It's a touchdown.
That big of a difference.
Wow.
No doubt.
Wow.
No doubt. I mean, you think about like Alabama, and unfortunately, the year I went, it was like the double whammy, dude. Who was that clown y'all had playing at the time? Kyler Murray was on the bench. That's how good of a coach Sumlin was. Kyler Murray was on the bench, and at right before halftime, Kyler Murray threw one of the finest. It was what was his name? Allen?
Josh Allen?
No, it wasn't Josh Allen. It was Kyle Allen. Throws 5 picks in that game, and we watched the Aggies get just pummeled. I've got Michigan and Sparty on my phone. And Michigan has somehow playing these clowns really close. And it was typical Harbaugh at the time. It was just driving me crazy. We take the lead. We're at the end of the game.
That's not the kick, the punt.
That's the punt. That's the punt. I nearly threw my phone off of the top of Kyle Field. I was so pissed because we were up at the top and we're waiting to go down because the game's over. Alabama's just beat the absolute crap out of A&M.
Wow.
And I watch our idiot punter bobble, and then doesn't just fall down, just keeps bobbling. And then Sparty picks it up and he starts running, and I'm like, okay, they'll get, no, they're not getting him. Oh my God, they're not getting him. Somebody tackle him. He's not getting tackled. We lost.
That's one of the funniest memes. That the guy, and again, you're a Michigan guy, I get it, but that meme of that
I know what
guy
you're talking about.
is just one of the funniest things. He is in complete shock.
Yeah.
He
Baffled.
has no idea what happened because that's a win.
And
That's a
speaking of the Auburn, Alabama, I saw a really cool clip.
Okay.
Same thing of a fan.
Yeah.
Remember that Iron Bowl
When he ran it back.
Yes, when he caught the missed field goal. Yeah.
9 yards or whatever it was.
To beat Alabama.
Yes.
So anyway,
Oh my God.
that's another fun part about being up here with you guys. And David, David has such a unique perspective on like Texas Tech, right? Like he's a huge fan. He's going to watch it. Zero expectations.
What about the year that y'all played South Kakalaki?
Come on, man.
And Jadeveon Clowney broke through the line and knocked the helmet off your running back and grabbed the ball all in one.
It
Was
one
that
of
after
greatest
the
plays I've
bad
ever seen.
the bad spot? Mm-hmm. Is that the one where
It wasn't a bad spot, first of all. Let me tell you what a bad spot was. A bad spot was when we were playing against Ohio State.
I know what you're talking
JT
about.
Barrett was a yard and a half short, and because they're at Ohio State, it's a first down. Unbelievable. Don't even get me started.
We got him started. This has been an awesome episode. David, thanks so much for being on.
Sure.
And listen, if you're looking for one of the most knowledgeable people in the game, somebody who truly cares about the game, cares about your game, you owe it to yourself to come up here and just visit with David. If not, get fit by
Do a
David.
fitting with
Do a
David.
fitting with David. David is incredible. He's so knowledgeable. He's so kind. He cares about what you play. He cares about how you play. And you owe it to yourself to come up and do a fitting with David and get in the shop. And if you don't need a fitting, come visit with David and pick his brain. He's just endless knowledge as far as the golf game goes. And we really appreciate having you on today, man.
Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all.
We love the
Just-
heck out of you, bro.
You're a part of the family, and we love you. So
I appreciate it.
we're glad you're here. And
Thank you so much.
This episode airs every Friday night, 9 p.m. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, turn on notifications to stay up to date with what's happening with the GHQ crew. And we will see you on the very next episode. Go State.
Go Blue.
Go Raiders,
Go.
baby.
The
Raiders.
Ohio State sucks.